Yeah. So to all the participants of this session, I just want to introduce the speaker of the day, Dr. Vel Murugan. He is a Fulbright postdoctoral fellow. Currently, he has been sponsored by United States India Education Foundation for the Fulbright Nehru Postdoctoral Research Fellow. Sir has been awarded with various awards and honors. He has written books and he has been guiding various research. Him during one of his sessions, Pondicherry. He's been very approachable and he used to educate students in colleges in various forums. So it will be a wonderful opportunity for us to hear you today, sir. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much for a very kind and pleasant introduction, sir. Very good morning to one and all present here in this virtual GST Day celebration today. At the outset, I thank the opportunity given by the GST and the Central Excise Division of Pondicherry Division, particularly Mr. Satish, the Joint Commissioner of GST and Central Excise, Sri Murugaram, sir, and who is also the Joint Commissioner of GST and Central Excise, Mr. Devanathan, Deputy Commissioner of GST, other officers of the GST. Some students have also participated, I assume that. So very good morning to one and all. Today, on behalf of to celebrate the GST today, the 4th anniversary of the GST in India, the Commissionerate has organized this webinar today. And the topic of my speech is going to be on the journey of GST so far. To begin with, let me quote what the former Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, has said on the midnight of the day before introduction of GST in India. What he said, and I quote, GST is maybe a destination-based taxation, but for India, this is the beginning of a very bright future. So, a beginning of a new journey. Unquote. Yes, as he has mentioned, we have started a new journey in our country in the form of a remarkable reform in the indirect taxation system in our country. In fact, I would even go behind and say it is not even a biggest reform in the indirect taxation in our country. It's the biggest tax reform as such in our country. And excuse me, there is some disturbance. Can someone mute that? One of the participants, I think, is okay. I will proceed. So GST is not alone in a biggest reform in indirect tax. It's a very big economic reform in our country. In fact, it is one of the biggest tax reform in the entire world, I would say, given the volume of transaction and number of GST registrations in our country, and the volume of e-way bills, the volume of online submission of returns. Massive. We couldn't imagine such a massive transformation in the tax system in the entire world, thanks to the efforts of the noble officers, the tireless working officers of the GST and Central Excise system. In my speech, I will be dividing my speech into 3-4 aspects so that for easy understanding of the participants. Because I'm an academician, I'm not representing the officers. I'm not representing the exact, the government for that matter, from the tax aspects. And I'm not even representing the traders. From the academician point of view, what will be the, the success stories, the drawbacks in the system which is so far, and what would be the, probable suggestions for improvement. That will be the things which I will be able to come in the 45 minutes. If at all there is a bit delayed, it extends for 5-10 minutes. I want the participants to kindly bear with me because, several aspects are there to be raised and discussed in this webinar. I wanted to complete this session with a positive note. That positive note would be there, I would say, at the end. But however, it will always be better to give the shortcomings or drawbacks in the system, which I understand. Not necessarily from the act or in the way, like say, from the provisions, but beyond that. Let me start with my own observation. I'm from Pondicherry. I'm a native of Pondicherry. I'm a Pondicherrian, though I work in settlements of Tamil Nadu. In 2013, when the deliberations for framing the, like say, conceiving the act was going on, I wrote a book on the implications of GST for Pondicherry Union Territory. It was in English as well as in Tamil, and we published it, and some around 2,000 copies were circulated among the trading and industries community in Pondicherry. The very purpose of writing the small booklet, to release that is that way back in 2013-14 itself, we were able to sensitize the Pondicherry traders on what is going to happen after the introduction of GST in our country. Because a lot of, like say, deliberations were happening here and there. There were some, like say, anxiety was there among the traders. What would happen? Yes, definitely for Pondicherry, it was a threat. Pondicherry is a small union territory with just 15 lakh, at the maximum 15 lakh population. And the entire, like say, Pondicherry were depending upon a preferred tax regime. We were having a preferred tax and lesser taxes. Okay, and that was a big, like say, facility that was available for Pondicherry, like we have for liquor, like we have for petroleum products. Even now, we were having, say, you have a chance of reading the budget document prior to introduction of GST, you could be able to see the budget document will have changes in that, like say, tax rate for tax rate for stainless steel, tax rate for copper products, something like that. No? Depending upon the requirements of the state, the financial requirements, the revenue requirement of this union territory, they used to read the budget document, make some, like say, tinkering work here and there, and to raise for raising funds. But we lost all these provisions because of the GST, because the union territory and all states for that matter, they given sacrifice their, like say, right to tax, particularly indirect taxes in the form of GST. Okay, that's good. Okay, because everyone has agreed, we moved on to a new system. But what is happening in the system in our country after it is being implemented from on 1st July 2017 has to be taken into consideration. Because of very short time that is given for this address, let me touch upon certain crucial aspects, and then I will move on to the positive side of GST. First one is about the GST Council, very formation of the GST Council. We all know to give importance to the federal structure of our country, we moved on to a cooperative federalism from the, like say, unifying the, like say, the central tax structure and the state, in the form of subsuming around 17 taxes, we moved on to a GST. But to give importance to the federal structure, we formed a GST Council, and in the GST Council, we have representation for each state and union territory without any weightage for performing economy, or even taking into consideration the domestic, GSTP of the state or the union territory. But with the uniform representation for states and center was given, which again is the issue with the 1/3 voting right for the center and 2/3 voting right for all the states put together. And when it comes to, like say, for voting for that purpose, to decide on some crucial issues, which happened maybe in that is to a second or the third GST Council. First time, we could be able to observe that there is no democracy in the system. In the GST Council, for the voting pattern of the, or the, like say, voting rights of the states, units, as well as in the central government. When it comes to voting, it says that when like say, allow or pass a particular resolution, it says that 1/4, it has to be passed with the 1/4, which means that we are like in any case, we have to depend upon the center and a few states. You all know that the country is bipartisanly divided country. We have states ruled by particular party A and states ruled by particular party. So, and hello, there is some disturbance. I could be able to. Okay. So, what is fiscal federalism? The fiscal federalism of the country, again, like say, it's put under threat, and of course, a lot of debate is going on the revenue sharing pattern itself. Two issues has come to the notice of the public now, being debated by the finance ministers of the states, and like say, all economists have started discussing about the fiscal federalism, which has put into threat now. First question is, why at all the GST cess compensation is not being distributed? Why the funds collected with the GST cess to the extent of around 55,000 crores has been moved on from the Consolidated Fund of India to a special account, which has been supposed to be kept in a special account? Why at all it is being moved to the who allowed the center, or whoever it may be, who allowed them to move to the Consolidated Fund of India, passed on to the Finance Commission, which is like say responsible for distributing the funds to states in a particular formula, which means that the revenue which is collected for a particular purpose, particularly I mean the GST says, has been misused, which is also quoted by the in the CAG report, which is highlighted in like say by several like say in the media for the matter. That is the first question. So, to have to safeguard the fiscal federalism of our country, there should be some integrity. There should be some integrity at the central level, so that whatever revenue that is generated under the GST, be it the GST through the tax or through the cess for that matter, has to be used, like say, in a very systematic and ethical way for which it is collected. My second question under the fiscal federalism is, why at all the GST compensation, which is supposed to be distributed to the states, forget about the competition. Even the GST, like say, revenue which is supposed to be shared with the states, is not shared with the states with the justice and equity to all the states. That is again the cycle which is disturbing the very purpose of coming, like say, together, the center and state coming together for using the for revenue augmentation. If there is an upper hand by one party, which has a one-third voting share in the GST Council, which means the central government for that matter, if they are trying to take upper hand, a lot of other issues are there. In the form of, like say, they are imposing or, like say, performing the role of policemen or like say, or upper-handedness for in decision-making process. This will definitely hinder the growth of GST, effective implementation of GST, acceptableness of the GST by the states and union territories. Third thing under the biggest threat under the GST is that what is the like say discussion that is going on in the GST Council? So far, we have there were around say more than 1,000 amendments to the rules, regulations, and even to the Act for that matter. So if it is so, okay, who has decided this many amendments? What is can there be an Act which is amended for more than 1,000 times, adjusted with like say for tax rates, interest rates, like whatever it may be, in just 4 years? In just 4 years, can there be any act in the whole world for that matter which has gone for these many amendments? That is the first. And for these amendments, many state representatives have raised their voice, not in the council, but coming out of the council meeting or to the media. They said that they were not allowed to represent. They were not allowed to speak. In fact, there were evidences of finance ministers, state finance ministers saying that someone has placed in a few items and they say these are all implemented and we all adhered to that and we came out of the meeting. This, I'm not just bluffing. Ministers have said this in the media. So if it is so, what is the purpose of having a GST council? That is my next question, which question in the sense, what I wanted to highlight is that these things will disturb the greatest tax reform in this country, in fact, greatest tax reform of the world. I wanted this tax reform to continue without any disturbance. Like say, we have to move forward with making some, definitely there should be some amendments, but not to the way of the extent to which it is happening. The next important aspect which I wanted to highlight is on the GST tax slab itself. Prime Minister has said it is a good and simple tax. Even I agree, it has to be a good and I don't say it's a good and simple tax. I agree that it has to be a good and simple tax. If it is a good and simple tax, why? And you call, or I also call, you. There is in front of our Pondicherry GST Commissioner, we call, there's a big placard which says that one nation, one tax. And my question is, as an academician, I put forward, genuinely can we establish and say that it is a one nation, definitely, but is it a one tax? They're not at all. We have zero tax. I mean, zero tax for many of the items. I think that's good for, let's say, for this economy, for considering the economic parameters and the livelihood parameters of the citizens of this country. A 5% taxation, a 12% taxation, and 18% taxation, 28% taxation, 28% plus tax on luxury and zinc goods. A 6% taxation, sir, I wanted to remember you and my students who are listening to you. A 6% tax structure is there, which is 3% CGST and 3% SGST for service providers. A 1% tax is there, we should not forget, for our, let's say, compounding schemes. What is this happening in our country? Why not there should be a rationalization? Definitely we have moved forward. I'm going to tell that the positive aspect, we have moved forward in spite of having number of hurdles. We are trying to do that. Definitely GST is not traveling through a toll road. A pleasant travel, which is being disturbed. It has disturbances. But however, what is the tax structure? In these 4 years, can't we be able to rationalize the tax structure? Yes, we have reduced the tax rates for various, let's say, 80 plus goods and some around 30, 40, close to 40 services. That's good. But what is the need of having such a, in the name of one tax, and we have, like say, we have SGST, we know that we have that CGST, IGST basic division. When you, like say, compound it becomes somewhere around 36 type of taxes in our country. I mean, within the GST framework. There should be some sort of rationalization in the tax slabs that is there in our country. In my opinion, from going through your own records, from the data that is provided by the GST and, like say, from your own data, like the weighted average tax which we collect from the various, like say, all these tax slabs put together, it was around, say, 14.4%. And later, because of revision that is considered in the GST Council for different goods and services, now they say it is around 11.6% weighted average tax that is collected on all goods and services together. If it is so, a country with a lot of intellectual know-how, a country with a lot of technical know-how, let's say with IT support and other things, can't we rationalize a tax which would, I accept, okay, let it be 11.5% on a weighted average. Can't it be put together in two tax slab structure for easy understanding of the consumers, easy understanding of the taxpayers, easy understanding of your own officers and like say administration, GST administration for that matter? Why not it is not done so? In fact, we all know that we are one of the highest taxing country in our country, in the entire world. When we talk about the 28% tax, it is nowhere in the world. But when it comes to the weighted average collection, it is just 11.5%. Why should we assume, why should we take the bad name in our head of 18% and like say 28%? Can't we rationalize something like that in and around, like say, I would say the standard deviation of 3 to 4% from the weighted average mean of 11.5%, which is collected so far? That is my next question. So the next issue would be on the issue of still there is the issues of with the input tax credit. The very purpose of the very core strength of GST is the seamless flow of input tax. Yes, there were very good efforts that is taken so far, like say in terms of like say rationalizing, in terms of making the process easy, but still there is a huge, one of the major issue with the GST system is from the trader side, from the businessman side, or I would say GST registered persons have 11.5% which is being collected so far. That is my next question. So the next issue will be on the issue of still there is the issues of with the input tax credit. The very purpose of the very core strength of GST is the seamless flow of input tax. Yes, there were very good efforts that is taken so far, like say in terms of like say rationalizing in terms of making the process easy, but still there is a huge, one of the major issue with the GST system is from the trader side, from the businessman side, or I would say GST registered persons have a serious apprehension on the way the input tax system is handled in this country, handled by the GST officers or the GST network for that. When there is no seamless flow, say for example, till now you have a provision that if a person, for example, Velmurugan is having a Velmurugan company, and I'm submitting, like say, I'm trying to make a claim on ITC, I will be denied because the person who has supplied some inputs for me, I haven't paid the tax for it from his side, from the supplier side for that matter. Okay, why should I get disturbed? I'm an honest businessman. I have a valid invoice from where, like say, I'm trying to valid transaction from where I'm trying to take input tax. Okay? But my, like say, I'm not allowed or my transaction is getting disturbed. Why should I get stopped? So there should be some mechanism which ensures that a genuine person who wanted to take input tax credit, who is trying to avail the input, should not get disturbed by any means for that matter. That seamless mechanism should, like the system, the mechanism, the officers all put together should ensure that there is no disturbance for a genuine businessman who is trying to utilize the ITC. This is the next hitch which I want to mention. The next aspect is coming into the process of why there should be a divide in this nation. You said, now we coming to the question of one nation. Yes, we are one nation. By all means, we are a nation. We respect the integrity and the sovereignty of this nation and the GST process. In fact, the GST has helped us to realize that we are one country, one nation. But why at all there is a division in the names of like say special category states and normal states? Why should we have that even after 4 years? Say, for example, here there is a significant controversy that is arising. Let me mark it. I went from Pondicherry for that matter. Pondicherry is considered as a special category state, say something like the northeastern states, and we are eligible to under, like say, even for registration, we are making it those who are above, like say, doing 20 lakh transaction has to register, which is given to the northeastern states, and which is not there for other states. And though it is an option which is thrown open to the states, many states except Telangana has preferred for the 40 lakhs limit. Why at all there should be a difference? Why assure that there is a possibility of option? Say, for example, in a small union territory with 4 parts, Pondicherry, Karaikal, Mahe, and can accept for or insisting for ready to accept a 20 lakh threshold. And if states may just even Tamil Nadu for that, any big states for that matter, why should all they should not consider a threshold limit of 20 lakhs instead of that 40? Why do they prefer that 40 lakhs? Dear officers, we should understand that still many traders have voluminous number of traders. I know personally, they are out of the tax net. Various loopholes are there, which I'm going to tell you. They are still out of the tax net. And above all, using the compounding scheme, there is a big fraudulent practice that is still taking place in this country. I don't know about others, but whatever we listen. Still, there are establishments which collect, like say GST, with various tax slabs, defrauding the customers, consumers, making a physical tax invoice, but coming under a compounding scheme, which is they are not supposed to tax, which is it goes unnoticed because it's a country of 100 crore population. What is the number of GST officers and GST and central excise? It is negligible. It can never be possible to monitor all the traders in our country unless there is a mechanism which will plug the loopholes. I am deadly against this compounding scheme. There should be this compounding scheme has to be thrown away, and only if there is any relaxation that should be given, a single point relaxation, single like say not like 20 lakhs for this place, 40 lakhs for that place, and a relaxation for some other reason. What is this? When this is happening, how come that we classify it as a one nation one tax? Either we should not use it as a one nation one tax, or if we are using the word one nation one tax, we have to do away with all these issues. That is my next concern, because my worry is I am not questioning the integrity of the officers. I am only questioning the integrity of the system, because the system, when it is allowed to continue like this, will create a lot of misuse of the GST in India using the loopholes. Because by nature, I hope the participants and me will agree with me that people are averse to paying tax. That is 100%. That is 100%. They are a bit averse of paying, averse of taxing officials, averse of the tax department. But we are successful in bringing, dramatically increasing the tax base, the number of tax registrations, trader registrations, in terms of tax volume also. There is a dramatic, we are so successful. But when it comes to the attitude of traders and they are tax averse, they wanted to stay away from the system, and they will try to use all the loopholes in the system and stay away, and also make use of the provisions of the tax to defraud, to do some fraudulent activities and cheat the country-made consumers, which is not the scope, which is against the scope of the GST Act. Last major issue which I want to highlight is the technical glitches which is there in the system. Still there, I know that, particularly the small traders. I'm not talking about the, traders who come under above 500 or pro transaction, something like that. The small traders in the tier 2, tier 3 cities or towns of the country. They are still facing the technical glitches. They were not able to cope up, adjust with the technical glitches that is there, still there, which has to be rectified, which is really disturbing them a lot. And the way in which we have the GST returns systems which we have. A lot of development has come in I would say, by doing away with the GSTR 2 and 3 in the very first year of the introduction of GST, and we replaced with the GSTR 3B for that matter. Remarkable development has come in terms of the technical know-how, and in terms of it is very evident in the terms of number of returns that is returns that is submitted in our country. That's good, but however, still there are issues. Small and medium traders, small traders particularly, we are not happy with the system, and something has to be done. And even I was noticing some interesting discussion during 2020, 2019-20, just before our COVID first phase. A lot of deliberations were happening. Even GST officers were talking about the new, return submission system. New return policy. They call it as GST 2.0. Some newspapers carried the news GST 2.0. But I think there is some delay, or in the process of implementing the changes, maybe because of the COVID pandemic. For the past 2 years, maybe in 2022, I wish that there is some visible changes in the process of GST returns, and in the process of refunds for that matter. Coming to the success stories, definitely I need to highlight the success stories. One important success story which has which has attracted me, which has moved me, which has made me so happy is the e-invoicing. I was always eager to, I was waiting to see such a remarkable transformation in the GST invoicing rate. We were all waiting. These fraudulent traders, I always classify, not all. When I say fraudulent traders, it's not all. Very few who are, like, say, habitual to commit frauds and cheating activities. They made use of the physical invoice and they siphoned away the money of the consumers in the name of making a physical bill, charging at 25, 28%, 80%, whatever they like, say they spend it, but it does not pass on to the GST system, which means that money did not go to the government exchequer, government treasury for that matter. Government money was siphoned away by the fraudulent traders for that. GST registered persons for that. I was so happy when e-invoicing was introduced for more than with a transaction of more than 500 crores. Later, I was also wishing that it has to be substantially reduced, which came down to 100 crores and very recently to 50 crores. But in this, what I wanted to suggest is that it is a welcome move. E-invoicing is a very successful, appreciable system that has got introduced into the process of GST, which has done away with the physical invoicing, physical manual bills for that matter, and it has helped dramatically, seriously in augmenting, increasing the GST revenue of our country, which even the introduction I think Officer Satish was making a mention about continuous like say 8 months revenue augmentation of more than rupees more than 1 lakh crore per month. It all happened because of plugging the loophole of physical invoicing system. It was a threat to them, and they were forced to move to do away with the fraudulent practices, and that is one of the important reasons for increasing the tax. But I understand it was introduced very recently. It has to be substantially reduced to further, my opinion, I would say 10 crore. If in the near future, maybe in the next finance bill, if our next budget, the central finance minister makes an announcement that it will be reduced or it will be brought down to cover all those GST registered persons who have a turnover of 10 crore, I would welcome that. Very interesting development, very remarkable development in the GST journey so far, which has attracted me, just moved me, is the GST e-invoicing system. It is so wonderful. Definitely, there are countries in the world which are practicing the e-invoicing system. Okay, and there too some issues would be there. But in a country like India, like the given volume of IT infrastructure that is required, looking at the e-invoices that is generated so far, it's so fascinating to see the number of invoices. And like say, it has definitely put an end to the fraudulent practice, at least to some extent, and the way to track the entire process forward. It's so interesting that when if IRN is not, from the invoice registration network, if invoice is not generated, no input tax credit. Excellent. That should be the thing. Very good. The next point, which has got introduced way back in 2018, the very next year of introduction of GST, which I wanted to make a mention, which has crossed 3 years. We should also celebrate the 3 year of our e-way bill. No, excellent system. Why? When GST got introduced, even before GST got introduced, the very first point to convince the traders to get registered with the GST network, all officers, the proponents, the supporters of GST system said, look at the Gwalior checkpost, look at the Tada checkpost in Andhra and this side in Kerala border, and this side look at the Hosur, checkpost to enter Karnataka. Look at the number of vehicles that is standing. Years time that is getting consumed for getting a pass to pass the state, to entry pass, off try. These are lot of thing, and for days together, trucks were allowed to park, forced to park, and even many a times goods got mutilated in the process, which is done away by unifying the states by the GST system. But What happened after that? We all saw that goods were moving without bills. Fraudulent traders and investors made out of the system because there is no checkpost, because there is no police to ask you questions. They moved goods and services, goods across the country without bill. If you don't mistake me, even now I would say there are business centers. I'm not talking about Chennai. I'm not talking about Bombay as such. There are cartels, business centers in towns and which area I don't want to mention because it may create some controversy. Just enter, come back with lakhs and lakhs of goods without bill. In fact, insisted by the person, if you wanted to even make a Google Pay, if you wanted to make a check transfer, if you wanted to make a, digital transaction, they personally say, just say, get out. If you have cash, enter into my thing, enter into my business establishment and do the transaction. I don't want to say, you all know which is the place in Chennai, you all know which is the place in Coimbatore. You all know, maybe from Pondicherry, there are business entities, traders, who still insist on cash transaction without bill. How is that? Still, but however, by introduction of the e-way bill, this practice, which was so massive, disturbing the entire texture of GST in 2017-18, which has dramatically reduced so far. It has come down so far. It is really appreciable. We have to appreciate the entire GST team in our country to bring down the issue of, like, now there is a seamless movement. Above 50,000, they are going with the e-invoice, like whenever, that's a easy movement. The time that is consumed by in the movement of goods. In fact, the cost of logistics, the cost of transportation has come down significant. In fact, this has increased the bottom line. It has increased the bottom line of the balance sheet of the companies. Huge. Way they spend for, like, say, in the name of police and checkposts here and there. A lot of savings for the company because of the introduction of e-way bill. They have been the traders were made to move ethically, and at the same time, it is at the bottom line for them. It is really increase in the, reduction in the cost, increase in the bottom line. The profit of the companies. This is one of the very welcome move which I wanted to highlight in the for this 4 years process. Next is what is the contribution of this GST to the entire country for that matter? We all know that there is a ease of doing business index in the entire world. Okay, today we are living in a gold-based world. We are looking for foreign direct investments. Even the Atmanirbhar Bharat, which obviously talks about a self-reliant economy. Even our Prime Minister said that it's self-reliant means it's not a closed economy. We will invite everyone to our country so that it is getting produced in India. That is the sort of definition that was given by our Prime Minister, which means that we want others to come into our country. We want foreign direct investments. We want a lot of products and services to be produced and distributed in our country, not to a lot to move from China, which is the nearshoring which is happening. Okay, we have to, that's the other aspect of discussion which I'm not bringing into the discussion now. If so, the ease of doing business, the index of usability is a significant factor which has to be looked upon by, which used to be looked upon by the international businessmen in the investing community. After introduction of ease of GST, the ease of India, which was under the 113th position in the ease of doing business, has come down to around, let's say, it's around 63. We are the 63rd position as of now, which means the image of our country. See the development, contribution of GST. The image of our country has improved a lot in the among the global countries. In the international scenario, maybe that is one of the reasons. When you compare the foreign direct investments and the flow of foreign funds into our country in the recent past, even now we are one of the highest country which is sitting upon the highest forex reserves so far. Maybe in the past 2-3 years it is happening. I would say, very much I would claim that it's because of GST, which has created, let's say, a sort of understanding among the businessmen who are looking at India from other states, Because they were earlier disturbed. Why? What is the tax rate in Pondicherry? Why it is less? Why it is there so much in Tamil Nadu? When I have a branch, open a new branch in Karnataka, why? What of so many complications? It is an aspect which was disturbing them. Now they say from other country, from somewhere else in the world, cross border, they look at the let's say ease of submitting returns, getting refunds, etc. When it's getting reimbursed, they are happy. In fact, they are high net worth individuals, big businesses which are coming in. And for that segment, even now I say I'm very much happy with the level of transaction, size of transaction, ease with which it is flowing. All the, let's say, submission of returns, the refunds, ITC, all those things for big businesses, it is easy. So that is one reason for why the ease of the ranking for India has substantially increased. And it is a very good thing for government or for our government. Next is about the rate rationalization. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have made some significant rationalization in the rates. Earlier, it was not. When, say, it is for any system for that matter, a foolproof 100% pakka tax system or any system for that cannot be introduced in one go. It might be subject to revisions. That understanding is there for me, for officers, and for everyone. Okay, that is there. That has motivated them to apply their mind to empathetically look into the concerns of the various trade bodies and bring down the tax rates. That has significantly happened. That is why, if you look at the representation made by trade bodies, 2017, 18, even early 19 for that matter, that has come down substantially. That cry, which the way they cried earlier, no, that has come down substantially. But still, I'm talking about rationalization within the existing tax. Though, in my first opinion, I said we have to bring down the tax slab 1, 2, or at the maximum 3. That is my opinion. But however, within if we continue the existing tax slab and tax rates for that matter, still there are elements of rationalization which is missing here and there. Confusions are there, which has to be taken care by the administration, by the GST regime. The next one is about next one is about the contribution of the GST officers and the GST department during pandemic. If I don't see, we are talking about the journey of GST for 4 years, just 4 years. First 2 years, pre-pandemic period. And the second 2 years, it's honestly the pandemic period, because the first news of COVID-19 came early in November 2019, which means 1920 and 2021, and even now 21-22, it's very much, we can even consider as a pandemic. The way which the GST officers cooperated with the traders in terms of the GST administration, I mean, the system for that matter, by way of extending the time limit for submission of returns, by way of, bringing down certain, rules and regulation to meet the needs of the traders. All this has helped them to overcome the burden of they faced during the pandemic because of no business, like a lot of stress among businessmen because they were running out of working capital. They were not knowing how to restart their business at that particular time. Usually, whenever in any time, if you ask a businessman, I'm not in general, I'm talking about in general, not about GST. If you ask them what are the major issues, they say tax, this, that, things. But during pandemic, the way the GST department, the GST and Services department officers has cooperated in terms of making the life easy for the traders, I really appreciate and welcome that. You have made a remarkable touch in the hearts of the businessmen of the country. Next point which I wanted to highlight is about the augmentation, tax revenue augmentation. One thing, which I wanted to highlight is that before introduction of GST, when there were several calculations, we made several permutation and calculation, and came to understanding that that would be the tax revenue from GST on first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and based on which compensation cess was. Then all those things I talked earlier. There was a remarkable improvement in GST collections, but however, one thing which I want to highlight in that is that while I appreciate the contribution of the GST department, the massive exercise, the way you checked the traders, the way you increased the tax registration base, you plug the holes. However, there is a volatility in, you have to see that the chart says there is a volatility in GST revenue augmentation, still it is there. And we were not able to mobilize the revenue which was forecasted earlier. Maybe I assume as well as I agree that maybe if at all no pandemic, like say by this time you would have crossed the expectations or the forecast targets which I said earlier. But however, that has to be addressed maybe in the second quarter. I mean, we are in July, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, we have substantial time for 2021-22. I assume that you may be able to cope up with that process. And that's the whole thing which I wanted to address you as of now. And by to conclude on what is my expectation on the fourth year of GST, what I wanted to say is that you have to come out with the good proposals for tax augmentation. Tax augmentation, as I said earlier, it can be made only through bringing more and more of traders into the tax net. Actually, I'm not telling that you have to include everyone which don't do a substantial business. It doesn't mean that a good number of people, large number of traders are using the loopholes or beyond the ambit of GST network as of now. It is a duty of the officers to ensure that to increase the tax registered persons so that tax augmentation would happen very significantly. That I expect maybe in 1 or 2 years that has to be done. Some sort of threat should be there, which is always there. Otherwise, nothing will happen in this country. And accessibility, more accessibility on visa filing returns, which I just mentioned. And more efforts has to be taken for new reforms and measures that will be genuinely beneficial for the both the taxpayers and the government. Above all, I would say, if at all, the dream of our Prime Minister, the big dream of our Prime Minister, last year in his speech budget, just before budget, he was mentioning about making India a $5 trillion economy. We are $3 trillion economy. Because of pandemic, we are a bit less. We have to move. We have to have a target of 2 more trillion, which means 2,000 lakh crores, which is not a simple thing. I want the GST to play a major role by way of tax augmentation to contribute significantly to the GDP of our country, so that the dream of the Prime Minister, whomever, the 5 billion trillion, it's a wonderful dream. Even I support that. I want Tamil Nadu to be a $1 trillion economy. I have written an article on that. How Tamil Nadu, what are the efforts to put in by Tamil Nadu to reach a $1 trillion? Only if Tamil Nadu reaches $1 trillion and Maharashtra crosses a $1 trillion, I mean, India will have a $5 trillion. If so, the contribution of GST, high officers like you, the participants, everyone, traders, all stakeholders together, we can significantly contribute to move India to a $5 trillion economy. I will close my address by saying that, yes, our dream is to make GST a good and simple tax. I agree that we have moved in the 4 years journey. We have moved significantly towards making GST into a good and simple tax. However, we haven't reached our target. I guess, I wish, I support the entire system, administration, country, all the stakeholders put together. We will all make a good and simple tax. There is no question of revoking, moving back to the old system. We are into the system. We are firm in the system of GST network. But issues are there. resolving the issues, we will move on with a very good, very good tax regime for them. Thanks for Vikram sir and other officers for giving this wonderful opportunity to address on the GST day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Velmurugan. Now the floor is open for any GST. Wonderful and very honest kind of evaluation with both positives and negatives. Been very bold in actually pointing out various things, and also been very kind enough in actually pointing out various positive things that's happening around. And the way in which like you have ended your speech with a positive note and with some very very good valid suggestions is very encouraging for all of us.
Thank you.
So please don't hesitate. You can ask questions.
Yeah, anything for that matter, no issues we can discuss. So, as academician, I have the liberty to touch upon, move away from your like say restrictions, and I can give my views. So, come forward to ask your questions, no issues. The political economy behind GST, I'm ready to discuss.
Maybe, sir, I will ask a question in the sense like, I mean, if you quick, want to make a quick take from your whole session, like can you suggest some 3 things that which are pain points and you want definite changes in those aspects? Like a quick comment on that.
What is like traders are still unhappy with the. I know that I know all the divisions. I know the Pondicherry division traders are so happy, but overall there is an issue with ITC that has to be resolved. The next thing is very important is that the e-invoicing has to be moved further to the 10 crore threshold limit. That will definitely you can see officers sir, when you can see a substantial increase in your revenue mobilization. And maybe like in the technical glitches side, we can concentrate on plugging the loopholes, which is still particularly with the small traders. They are still unhappy with that. Somehow it has to be done because it means that there should be like some sort of happiness with they submit the returns, they will get the refund. There should be they should feel that it's a hurdle for them in terms of doing business. They should concentrate only on the business, fully 100% of the business. This should be a 1% activity, maybe a month end of a quarter or a year, but some return which will be spent sometime within any hassle, they should be able to do that. That has to be raised. And I want to highlight the concerns of the 15th Finance Commission. The 15th Finance Commission has made remarkable, which is the point which has to be, I have to tell that. They were mentioning about the multiplicity of tax rates, which I highlighted. Shortfall in GST collection vis-a-vis the forecast, they have mentioned. Volatility in GST collections, which has to be brought down. See, volatility and inconsistency in tax returns and GST collection is a very significant issue. Sir, you have to understand why there is a volatility. How come there can be an inconsistency? In a business, in a town for that matter, in a city for that matter, in a year there are around 1,000 returns on 1,000 crores of revenue. For example, just for analogy, I'm talking about this example. Okay, if in the subsequent year, if there is a drop by 250 returns and a shortfall of 250 crore of that doesn't mean that there is a volatility significant. Some malpractice going on, someone is trying to misuse the system. That itself is an evidence which is quoted by it's a data, it is data-based thing which is cannot be avoided. I don't know what is happening with the Pondicherry, but it's an overall thing which has to be checked. Volatility when it is there, month on month, year on year, which has to be seriously checked in, because now it's we have moved on to a 100% digital platform. The entire world is looking at us, how we are able to handle such a big, massive data. We are good in that. Now there is artificial intelligence and other, like say, know-hows are there, softwares are there, which we can able to identify exactly which trader is trying to do some mischief. Chances are there that it has to be looked upon. That can be done only by officers. Maybe you have to look into that. And thing is, other than that, which major thing which I wanted to say, a very important thing which I highlighted in the initial course of my discussion. Whatever hard work we do as officers, you as officers, dedicated officers, whatever I do as a teacher to sensitize my students on the biggest tax reform of the world, I would say, the biggest economic reform, GST. Students are so, say, they're wondering how come it could happen because by the way we demonstrate, we explain.
Chatல போட்டாலும் பதில்
Hello?
சொல்றேன்.
Yeah. So,
சொல்றானே.
if so, my question is, somehow the efforts of officers and teacher academicians should not go waste because of the center-state relations. That is a very, very significant thing I tell you. If it is allowed to continue further, it will disturb the GST as such. So this is my opinion, sir, and open for further questions.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for summarizing your whole speech. Anyone else with any questions like they may ask? Anyone? I think there are one question was raised in the chat box in which it has been raised like whether the retailers now have been classified under MSME, whether it is going to affect their nature of doing business under GST. I think that is only with respect to financial assistance and support. Yeah. Yes, sir, you can.
No, that is not a question for relevant to us. I read the question actually in the chat box. Because as of now, there is no answer from my side, and it's not within our purview. It is only for banks, financial assistance, and there is issue among the MSME itself because MSME now they have wanted to, because MSME classifies medium and small traders as well as industries. All are classified as enterprises. There is a big demand from them, industries, micro, small, and medium enterprise. They wanted to have a separate classification for traders because the issues of traders are entirely different from the issue of industrialists, businessmen, I mean, from the industry side for that matter. So there is a demand. That is not a question. Let them discuss about that. Later we will discuss about the GST purview on it. Thank you.
So with no more questions being posed, I think we can end the session. It's a very wonderful session. As I earlier told, it's a kind of a 360-degree review of GST by from an academic point of view. Actually, you have not done just from the academic point of view. You have actually, and as a representative of all the stakeholders from each perspective, like you have analyzed the whole scenario. In the initial part, you have actually made a lot of pain points that are there. You have mentioned, and government is actually doing various things to solve each one of them. Things are changing, and it's not the end. And so, hopefully, like the post-pandemic period, many issues will be solved. And there are various initiatives also from the the government in the sense of even still further increasing the ease of doing business. For example, the nil return, it can be done just by SMS. So that much simplicity they have brought in. And with respect to ITC, like we have to take care of ease of doing like the fake ITC credits. Yes, e-bill is going to be a big thing now. Already recently, in the last 2-3 days, we booked a very big case in Karnataka, our team there. So a lot of things are happening, and e-invoicing also is going to help. And the auto population of GSTR 3B, it is now been enabled. Like once you create the e-way bill, it's going to come to GSTR 1, it is going to become part of the GSTR 3B, will actually reduce the burden. As you have very rightly told, like that the businessman need to focus only on business, and the taxation and the return formalities, he should spend a very, very less time. Yes. I think maybe the main point that we need to take from your speech. Thank you so much, sir. And you have been also kind enough in pointing out various efforts taken by us during the pandemic period. Thank you, one and all. Now we'll rise for the national anthem. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving this opportunity once again, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll start with